Today is about initiating mental breaks and for stress relief. So honoring, all of us are stressed. This is a very stressful time. And what I'm going to suggest today is knowing that if you get into a cycle of negative thinking and it's just going crazy and quicker and faster, that you're going to be attracting more of the same thoughts. And so today is all about you knowing that if you get in that hamster wheel, it's okay. All of us do, but you have to change it. You have to slow it down. You have to find something else to think about, or you're just going to keep spinning. And all of us know that. All of us know that we spin out, and that we're not taught how to get out of it. But today I'm going to offer you a technique to get yourself out of it, So without further ado, I will share my screen with you. Let's see, share. Okay, present. And then I want to make it where I can see y'all. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so we're back together. And some of this is going to sound slightly familiar, but we're dropping down deeper into some of the things I've shared with you in the past, okay? So we already know the title, so thanks Elizabeth and Paul for having me back on. I adore y'all. So let's see, I don't have my cursor up, sorry. Okay, so you cannot always control what goes on outside, but you can always control what goes on inside. Wayne Dyer, I love him. If you guys don't know him, he writes beautiful things. But this is beautiful because we think that by worry and anxiety, somehow cultivating that within, that's going to help the outcome outside of us, but that is not actually true. It just makes us expecting more disappointment if we're cultivating a lot of stress. So then this suggestion he's got here is like, we can't control the outside, kind of surrendering, knowing you can't control the outside. We've talked about the pandemic. This is really uncomfortable for everyone, and we cannot control the pandemic. None of us individually can, but we can control how our mindset about it and how we're doing about it. And that just means you're constantly doing a little bit of self-reflection. Okay, so then I want y'all to think about, I always ask, grab a pen and paper if you have it handy, or you can use your phone to put notes in. Terrell, don't. Just make a mental note. So I have this stress ball here, and I want y'all to think about what is it that's really gotten you stressed out lately. So land your personal example, and as we go through this, I'm going to give you an example scenario, and then we're going to do it personally for you. And of course, as always, you're not going to share anything you don't want to share, but if you feel like sharing your personal situation, then that's great. What's shared here stays here, right? So can land that, and I have an example of my own to share with y'all to kind of help build this. So let me just make a note. I was working on it this morning. So I'm making a note while y'all do. And you can choose something professional or something personal, whatever's coming up that's stressing you out. Okay, so finish up that. I'll continue. So definition of stress, y'all know I love some definitions, but I loved this because there's a ton of definitions for stress, but this one I loved. The degree to which you feel overwhelmed or unable to cope as a result of the pressures that are unmanageable. So again, I love this about pressures that are unmanageable. Worry and anxiety we think is helping a future outcome, but it is not. The future is unmanageable. We don't know what we're getting. And I think in the deeper part of ourselves, that makes us really uncomfortable that we can't control what we're getting, and so then we kick up the worry and anxiety, giving us something to do because we're not sure what's going to come at us. But really for us all to know we are actually safe. We are safe, and that we can relax on the pressure that we're feeling. Okay, so I wanted to land this again. We've already talked about this. So as I'm talking to you about this new technique, you might float over to, oh, well, Lori's talked about gifting yourself. So the physical breaks, you know, when I presented this to you and I've reminded you about it, gifting yourself is all about recognizing you need help, recognizing you're not okay in the moment, and making a decision of, do I have 30 seconds to try to help myself, or do I have 30 minutes? You know, if you don't have a lot of time, then you're going to choose a mental escape, a mental break, and mental exercise. And I suggested that's the second part. I suggested, you know where your favorite spot is on the planet that you visited, or know where you really want to go visit, and have that locked in your mind's eye. You know, I think I told you guys my number one of all time place to visit was Machu Picchu, and I got to go there in 2012. But let's say I'd never been there before. I can Google, I can get a good shot of Machu Picchu. I can decide where I want to stand on that beautiful site or ruin, and knowing that you can play with that in your mind, you know, giving yourself more permission to play in your mind. And then I suggested the heel clicks, which is just a funny dance move that I think is hysterical. I'll do it physically or I'll do it in my head. It's just something that'll make you laugh, but you have to think about these things before you're in a tailspin, because once you're in the tailspin, you're not going to grab it. You're not going to know what to do to help yourself. So the mental breaks are a bit of imagination, and it's when you don't have a lot of time. And then we talked about physical breaks, or yoga, hiking, taking a bath. I do Qigong, your favorite activity that lifts you up and nurtures your heart, you know, and that's something, that's the 30-minute choice. But it's always, you know, we are having to deal with time management. You guys are very busy. And so you kind of need to be able to identify, okay, I have this short amount of time, or I have a long amount of time, and these are the things I can do to help myself. And so we're taking the mental breaks, and we're going to drop down, you know, deeper into that for today. So I wanted to share this because, you know, I felt like when y'all saw the title, you know, I'm always going to give us a spin on things, but when you think of mental breaks, I think I thought of these things. So if you guys want to add in the chat more things you think of, but I think number one, smoking. You kind of can't tell her cigarette, but you can tell her how she's holding herself. So when you're at the desk, or you're out in the field, you know, and you're stressed out, maybe you go smoke, and that's a choice. Okay. And or maybe you go grab coffee. Maybe you go find your colleague you want to talk to. You know, maybe you just call it a moment and go ahead and go to lunch. Or maybe you grab your smartphone and mess with your favorite apps. You know, maybe you call a friend. So all of these are what's normal and acceptable, and what we think, oh, I need a mental break. And then we go to one of these, but it's not nurturing. This isn't actually a mental break. This isn't actually resetting yourself. This isn't neutralizing yourself. It's giving you a different atmosphere, you know? So I want you guys to think about, okay, what is it I choose to do? And what could I choose instead? You know, because it really, to me, it's external relationships here. And whereas we need you to go within to help manage, you know, how you're feeling. So, sorry, I keep moving my cursor. Well, I really did. Okay. The point is to give your mind a rest. So giving your mind a rest. And I know in the times we've been together before, it's all about bringing, you know, where you believe you are inside your mind, you know, cultivating, making decisions. It's bringing it down into your heart space. And I know this sounds a bit, you know, cheesy, but honestly, you know, the mind and the heart have to sync up, and we aren't taught this. And the way they sync up is when, you know, you're more heart-centered. Okay, I think that, actually, I'm sorry, I can't check chat right now. I don't think, so I'll check it in a minute. Okay, so as you relax, better outcomes or solutions reveal themselves within a peaceful state of mind. And from here, stress vanishes. By me. And again, this is highlighting, we are not taught that if you're stressed out and you're feeling pressure, and you're in it to win it, and generally we push, it's like we turn into this, it's like go, we got to get it done, even if you're cramming for, let's say you only have 30 minutes and you got to send an email, or there's something that's legit pressure, I got to get this done, like Elizabeth's waiting on it. That's fine, but you knowing you can back off for 5 minutes will make you have better insights about what you're doing, articulate it better, be less passive aggressive, you know, all the stuff. And it's just like, we just think we gotta keep on pushing. And I say, no, back off it for a moment, you know? Okay, so stress, it can always be present, and I know for you guys it is, but your reaction to it is personal. And what I mean by this, you know, I've got 3 different scenarios here that I felt would speak to the group. So on the left, we've got, you know, a board meeting. For me, I'm not afraid to speak to a group, obviously, because I'm facilitating this, right? But I mean, I have years of theatrical experience in New York City that got me over that hurdle. But like, if we were talking about this, I don't know, 10 years ago, it would stress me out, you know, and some of you don't want to do what I'm doing. And so it would stress you out even more. So it's understanding that when we're stressed, we think others would be as stressed, but it's not true. You're coming from your own life experience and your own perspective of that moment. And I think it really takes you realizing, oh, I'm having a personal moment here. And what is that moment? Why am I freaking out? You know, so speaking to a group or speaking your truth, relaying ideas, this could be really stressful for you. The girl in the middle, she's just overwhelmed. I mean, there's a ton going on. Her to-do list is way too long. She's kicking it up though, right? She's the kind of person that never says, I'm done for the day. She's got like 150 things on a to-do list, and that'll bog you down. It's okay if you have that much stuff to do, but can it just be you know, a list of 4 things that will, like, logically you're only going to be able to get so much done today, and making all of it a fire that has to be done isn't accurate, you know? So again, I feel like someone who kicks into that default is activating something that they experienced as a younger person, as a child. And then the third picture here is maybe you have issues with confrontation, just one-on-one, maybe one-on-one's too intimate, and you're kind of like, oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to upset this person. We keep going rounds, you know? And so I'm highlighting these different scenarios to help you. I mean, you might want to write down if you resonate with one of these being more your truth. I think I resonate more with the middle one. But understanding that when you're in the throes of the stress and the pressure, that it's a personal thing. Someone else is not going to feel the same pressure about the specific situation you're in. And that does not mean, you know, that you're bad or you don't have it all together. It just means you're a special person and you deserve to treat yourself with, you know, special care, essentially. Okay, so now let's go into our example. You guys have already seen the handouts, so that's good. So you know our steps. They seem simple, but you know, in real time as we're doing it, maybe not so simple. Okay, so Sally is our example here. So Sally is very overwhelmed and stressed. And so dropping, you know, and she's kind of thrown out our 5-minute mental break imagination technique, or her 30-minute physical breaks. And so I'm going to suggest to her, okay, we need to do a 5-minute brain nap reset. And she just looks at me like, you know, she's at the height of her stress for the day. And she's like, Lori, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for your mindfulness shenanigans. And I'm like, okay, well, keep spinning. You already know. I'm like, Sally, you already know what's going to happen because you do this every day. You spin out every day. So truly, you're going to eventually get tired. So just claim it. Just decide you're tired now. You don't have to spin out, and let's do these processes. And she's like, okay. So the first thing I ask her, I'm like, now, do you want help? And she's like, I'm like, talking to you. Of course I want help. And I'm like, no, but legit, do you want me to help you? Do you want to help yourself? And she's kind of like, yeah, I do. And I was like, okay, so are you willing to take the time? Are you willing to take the 5 minutes to help yourself? She's like, yes. And she's like, but I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm going to show you what we're going to do. And so the first thing I said, okay, take all of this. Obviously, your brain is exploding with information, or your to-do list, or all the things. So I was like, can you take all the stress and condense it into one word description? And she's like, no. So we sit with it for a minute, and I give her some time to think about it. And she says, you know, I think at the core of me with all of this, I feel rattled And I was like, that's a really good description. Rattled. I love it. She's kind of rolling her eyes at me again, like, yeah, I'm glad you love it, you know? And so I said, no, I'm glad we found your stress descriptor, rattled. Okay. Now we want to find the opposite of rattled. And this is specific to Sally, right? I don't have the right answer for her. She's got to feel the right answer for her. And so after we sat with it for a minute, she said, you know, I feel like the opposite of rattled for me is loved. So if I felt really loved, I wouldn't feel so rattled. And I was like, that's awesome. And I think that's beautiful. And so I said, okay, so now we've got to center in our heart because we're giving our mind a rest, right? We're not doing the hamster wheel, trying to fix something we can't fully fix, right? We're going to go to our heart. And she's kind of still rolling her eyes at me, but she's like, okay, I'll try. And I said, now, this is what we're going to repeat. I am feeling loved because you chose that as your opposite. I am feeling loved now. And she's like, but I'm not. And I'm like, okay, you have to shelf it for 5 minutes. Again, you're on a train going 100 miles an hour, and this technique is going to take your foot off the gas because you know you'll make better choices when it's calmer, right? She's like, okay. So focusing on your heart. And I said, okay, I am feeling loved now. So you repeat it in your heart. You don't have to say it out loud. I am, because I'm teaching you, but in your heart. So you can feel, I am feeling loved now. And the first couple of times, you know, she was feeling like really annoyed and uncomfortable, super uncomfortable, because she hadn't ever slowed down. Hadn't done much introspective work. You know, the times I had asked her about meditation, she had said, I don't know, my mind just goes crazy. I can't meditate. And I'm like, I get it. We're like basically turning your light in on yourself. And if you haven't ever done that, oh my gosh, of course you're going to feel like, you know, this is worse than stress, you know? But from my perspective as her coach, I feel she's using the stress as an excuse to not help herself. Right? And so we're basically purposefully turning it on its head. Okay, so then I share with her, now you're doing this for 5 minutes. So we're saying, I am feeling loved now. And then I said, now we're going to put emphasis on different parts of the phrase just to kind of help you stay with it. Because I know you're still trying to let it like unravel in your mind. So then do this with me. So you guys, as I'm giving you this example, do this with me. So focus on your heart. Our phrase is going to be, I am feeling loved now. So this is what I'm going to show her to do. So emphasis on I am feeling loved now. And then I am feeling loved now. 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 And then we went back and we did it again, you know, so in a way, it's a way of helping focus you. And I know you're using your mind, so it kind of feels like you're thinking, so it feels like you're using your mind, but so much of your energy, of your being is in your heart, which is perfect. Okay. So then, you know, Sally was like, I like it. It helped, you know, and then after having a clear mind, she was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I have some good ideas now. It's almost like similar to when something happens in our life and we know that we should not send the email, like you got to sleep on it. If those of you who've lived the life and know that's one of your, you know, catchphrases is got to sleep on it, because you know, if you receive an email or you have a conversation and you just bounce right back at them, you're matching their energy. And generally, if you're stressed, you're anxious and worried about it. So when you sleep on it, it's that reset of like, okay, let me just make sure I'm coming from a really clear, authentic, neutral place, because that serves us both, you know? So this is similar. It's just the 5 minute, a speedy version. Okay, so let's spin it to y'all. I'm going to actually see, this is a good spot for me to see if I can see chat, because I know y'all were chatting with me. Main thing is, let's see, more chat. Snacks or drinks? Snacks. Awesome. Good. Thanks, guys. Y'all were sharing. So Paul was sharing snacks and drinks, things he goes to. Tamika was saying snacks. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. All right. So now I want y'all to think about you. Okay, so number one, do you want to help yourself? So we're shifting to y'all and your own personal realizations here about the stress you've been holding. So again, you're on this call. I don't think it's mandatory, so you're choosing to be here. And so then you are someone who does want help. You know, I'm hearing sounds. So let's see. I don't know who's unmuted. Okay, so then let's go to your stress. So whatever you wrote down, and let's focus on one. If you wrote down a personal stress, great. Professional stress, great. But just think about if you took it all into one descriptive word, what would it be? And for those of you who've never thought of this, it's going to feel challenging for you to come up with one word. But I honor that you are wise and that you do know what it is. And during the Q&A, if you're stumped and you feel like you can talk about it, then we can talk about it one-on-one or group to group, I guess. So for my example, I had noticed, you know, I have been having a lot of interesting hiccupy conversations with people. Generally, I'm pretty good at, I can communicate well and it's pretty seamless, and then I can feel the other person, so I'm not gonna do anything that gets them all amped up. It's just not my style. But it's been hiccupy lately, and I was working on it this morning. I mean, I wanted an authentic example for you guys too, but for me personally, it's been, I realized all the stress of this hiccupiness. I felt the core of it for me was abandonment. I was like, I just feel like alone in this, you know? And then for me, when I said, okay, abandonment is my stress descriptor. And then when I flipped it on its head to, okay, what's the opposite for me of abandonment? I felt support. You know, I want support. I want to feel really dynamic support. And the thing is, you guys, and this is why it's so important to do this inner work. I'm supported like all over the place outside of me. It's inner support. It's like inner. It's all inner, you know, do I have my back, you know? During everything. And so then that was the invitation for me. So that's my personal example of what I was working with today. So then for you guys, again, so landing what your number one descriptor is. And then what's the opposite feeling state? And again, you're really going to be, this is a gut reaction for you. Some classics would be loved, supported, joyous, you know, just positive descriptors. So you guys can make notes about that. And then we're going to actually do it together, which will be really a beautiful thing. So I know some of you guys are still, you know, catching the phones and that type of thing. So just try to be as present as you can. And then so we're going to do the phrase again, but I'm not going to say the word because I don't know what your word is right now. And so I'm going to lead you through it and we'll hold it. And then basically I'll do the emphasis, and that's just going to help. It helps you have something to focus on without kicking into, you know, a lot of mental chatter. Okay, so maybe will you guys give me do you have the words? Because if you don't, then I would open it to discussion. Okay, most of you are saying yeah, you're good. Okay, good. All right. So then in your heart, really I just want you to take yourself down to your heart. And as you're there, you can close your eyes. We're just doing this for 5 minutes. You can turn off your video if you want to, if that makes you feel better. I'm checking the time. Okay. Okay. So remembering your positive words. So I am feeling, I'll say blank this one time, blank now. So again, I am feeling now. I am feeling now. I am feeling now. It's okay if you feel hiccupy inside. If it's uncomfortable, it's actually a good thing. just means you really need this presence. You need this statement. You're the only one who can give it to yourself. So just try to, soften as much as possible. I am feeling now. I'll do this, some emphasis on the phrase. So I am feeling now. I am feeling now. I am feeling now. I am now. I am feeling now. So sit with it. You're going to feel different, so that's good. But the way you feel it is personal to you. Okay, we're going to do another round of the emphasis. I am feeling now. I am feeling now. I'm going to add in my word. You guys just ignore my word, okay? I am feeling supported now. I am feeling supported now. I am feeling supported now. And a third time. I am feeling supported now. 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 Okay, let's sit with this for a moment. Your body might respond as taking deeper breaths. You just feel like the pressure is releasing, weight is coming off your shoulders. In this space, you might even think, oh, here's another way to do that. Or I could say that better. Or I actually don't even care about that anymore. It's giving yourself space to have insights and realizations. And when you need the statement again, you can start the statement again. I am feeling now. I am feeling now. I am feeling now. All right, really good, you guys. So you can open your eyes, turn on your video when you're ready. That was 5 minutes, so pretty quick. And then if you want to write anything down as far as insights or thoughts, feeling states are really important. I'll always say to you guys, when we practice anything, you got to check in on how it helps you, or you won't value it, and I'm confident this is a game changer for you all, because you focusing in on yourself and giving you what you really need is like the greatest gift. Okay. All right. Now this is bonus points, because y'all know I like to imagine things. I'm sure you're waiting. You're like, where is it? Where is she going to make me imagine something? So we have done this before, but with this, I felt that because we're deep diving into this, I wanted you to feel like step 1, step 2. Really, it's step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 1, I want to help myself. Step 2, I'm going to do this 5-minute deal. Step 3, I can do the 5-minute deal and hug myself in my heart. So with the hug yourself in your heart, it is imagining you today are standing in your heart and that you're copy pasting another version of you. Because the truth is we'll never be able to hug ourselves, obviously, but us trying to get love from other people or getting that hug from someone else it's clingy and it's not serving. And you can imagine hugging yourself and you can feel massive relief. And so I felt it was too much to say, let's all do it at one time. So honoring when you start doing this 5-minute reset, that you will, once you're comfortable with it, that you can imagine you and yourself hugging in your heart and speaking the statement. Okay, and then that is just going to be awesome. You guys will be like making it all happen.